has been that they seem to be disconnected, Daryl, from the history. I mean, they're not a coconut that fell out of a tree. You have to be tied to the roots. I am the sum. Daryl, you are the sum. Barbara, you are the sum. Those of us who are listening are the sum, S-U-M. We are the total of all of human history in this moment. It all culminates in your knowledge. It culminates in who you are. Rosa Parks culminates in you. Dr. King culminates in you. Malcolm X culminates in you. Mandela culminates in you. All the end of the Roman Empire, the beginning of the Byzantine Empire, the Renaissance, the Reconstruction, construction, Reconstruction, Jim Crow, Second Reconstruction. It's all been about you. It's about the decision that you make today. And when we connect them to that history, I think, and I've experienced on the road, that they feel profoundly empowered. They get little segments of the history, like in the third grade when we put up all of our heroes for Black History Month, the little picture they put up all around the classroom. We see all these famous pictures and faces, but no one tells them the whole story, that the story is about them in the present. And we have to engage the present with that history.
And I want to, since we're talking about young Black men, I want to see, is Cameron Barnes there? Cameron, are you there?
Attorney Arnwine, can you hear me?
Yes. I want people to know that Cameron Barnes is a national young adult policy advocate. He's a national youth director of Rainbow Push. He's a TJC fellow and freedom rider. He's a director of youth and young adult engagement, New Faith Missionary Baptist Church in Chicago. Let me ask you this question, because both of you are ministers. I had a birthday party the other day for my brother, and two of my young African-American, men, nephews were here, and one is 39 and the other is like 37. And they both reported that they've been talking with other Black men who have said that, with some, they said, of course, they've talked to a lot of people who said that they're fine with Harris, et cetera. But surprisingly, a number of people have said that to them, to their face, that they won't vote for a woman because the Bible tells them that a woman can't be a leader, and that that's biblical, and that it would be a crime and a sin to vote for a woman. I was just shocked to hear that the two of them had heard that separately from different men, but that is going on. How do you respond to that? To that level of miseducation or confusion?
Attorney Arnwine, and I know that my good brother, Reverend Jackson Jr., of course, would be able to certainly expound. If you would let him go down the religious hole, he'd be able to tell you this. But in my very surface level opinion, a lot of the traditionalism from the Old Testament has found its way into the modern America. And in those days, and I still don't understand why you still have some folks who will not accept women in leadership, and especially women in the pulpit and different things of that nature, when, of course, there could be no word had not a woman carried the word and even birthed the word. And so you can't really dispute women from leadership at any point in time. But I will also say even more than that, that we're seeing a lot of different tactics that are going to be used to influence a lot of our different young Black men. Now, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't recall the people saying this when Hillary Clinton had the Democratic National ticket in 2000, and I believe it was at 16. I don't recall them saying that, it would be a sin to vote for a woman and everything. Every time there's another reason why a woman, Black or white, is not qualified for leadership. But we know that women, particularly Black women, are in many cases more overqualified and overlooked at the same time for many different positions of power, and that does include the presidency, might I add, because we do see that Kamala Harris is an candidate to become the president. She has gone through the local level to the state level. She's gone through the United States Senate. She's been the vice president of the United States, breaking that glass ceiling, and now she's overqualified to be in the Oval Office, in the highest office of the land. But what we're seeing is the malleable mind of the young black man. And not all of our minds are that malleable. Let me say that on this platform. But we're seeing the malleable mind of some young black men that will use any excuse. It's not a matter of women being in leadership because no one disputes the fact of when my father is not in the home that my mother is the head of the household, and no one tells them, oh, my mother can't be a leader. No one tells the women that are in the community that are driving these churches, driving these mobilizations, like what happened on October the 3rd in Chicago. That was led by Betty Magnus, the Illinois political director. No one says that they're underqualified to do that until we get to the big offices. And we are understanding then that all of a sudden the black woman, in this particular case, the black woman is underqualified than a 78-year-old man who is cognitively not all the way there, swaying to music.
Well, like
but
I
we're
said,
not partisan though. We're nonpartisan.
Right, we're nonpartisan.
Who you like vote for who you like, but the fact must remain the fact that we see an overqualified woman, and you can make that decision for yourself. One who, by the way, has not been convicted of a 34 felony.
All right. So, Daryl, I know you want to get back in here because I definitely want to hear what you have to say as a minister, Reverend Jackson, to this issue also, because I was really shocked, but I had heard this. I had actually read it on several social media posts where people were saying this very thing. I had no idea that permeated so strongly within our community. What's your reaction to people saying that it's biblical that a woman should not be allowed to vote, be president?
Well, it may be more biological than it is biblical, in that the first decision made about your life, mother chose your father, and they had a relationship, and you were conceived. The first decision about your life was whether or not your mother was going to go through with having you. That was a leadership decision. Putting up with you for 9 months, and then the next however long after that was a decision that your mother makes. Now, I am going to be for all of about 30 seconds in a moment in a cellular dead zone, and if I have to come back, I will. But I'm going to keep talking, all right? So, the short, I can't improve upon what Reverend Barnes shared with us so eloquently on this question. But what I can tell you is we need to move this conversation back to the closing, winning message of this campaign. And as long as we hang around, which is really the great tragedy of what President Obama did by using his platform in this way, what he actually did was he started a 2, 3, 4, 5 week, maybe multiple month conversation on this subject matter when we need to be on the campaign's message, because we need 270 electoral votes to win the presidency. That's what's happening in the next 3 weeks. We got to get back on that message as quickly as possible so that women can make decisions, and we will overcome some of the misogyny in a real direct way when some of these brothers get used to calling Sister Harris Madam President.
Right. And I want to, everyone, as we are 3 weeks away, a lot of people, 5 million people have already voted. Early voting is starting in a number of states this week, like Georgia. It started today. There is a need for people to know what they have to do in order to vote. I was very surprised to watch a show last night of young voters, and they were saying that when they talk to their colleagues, the Gen Z colleagues, that most of them don't even know that they need to register to vote, whoa, that they were talking about, just showing up at the polls and voting, and they had to, say, wait a minute, are you registered? And a lot of them had no clue. I just wanted to ask our two guests, what are some of the most important things people need to know in order to vote right now, to be vote ready, so that they can show up and vote, and have their votes counted because they cast them correctly.
If I might very quickly, and then I'll cast it to Reverend Barnes. If you're 17 years or older and you'll be 18 by November 5th, you are eligible to register and vote. You're eligible because you have a right to vote for President of the United States and for subsequent offices. This amendment, known as the 26th Amendment to the Constitution, made that possible.
Yes.
Because in the late 60s and the early 70s, the issue had been raised that if politicians can send the senior class of every high school through a draft to Vietnam to fight and possibly lose their limbs, if not lose their lives, they have a right to vote for President of the United States. You're going to have to call your local Secretary of State's office or your local county clerk's office or your local city clerk's office to find out the particulars of voter registration. Some states, for example, have same-day on-site voter registration, which means you can vote, you can register and vote in, let's say, for example, Wisconsin, on the same day you show up to vote. Other states, like the state of Illinois, you have to have registered 30 days before the election. So each state and each jurisdiction has its own particular requirements. And at this stage of the game, I think it's important that you call your local clerk.
Yes, but there's also an easier way, folks. You can go to vote.org also. Vote.org is an wonderful online resource where you can go online and find out if you're registered, find out, if you've been put on an inactive list or purged or whatever, but also you can register. You can register online, and if voter registration is still open in your state, you can register there. But also, as Reverend Jackson was saying, if you're in a state that has early voting and the voter registration deadline has passed, in half of the states of the nation, you can actually go in same day, register, and vote. And I want to point out that there are when we talk about these, quote, battleground states, Michigan, Nevada, North Carolina, Wisconsin are all same-day registration states. And only North Carolina is a state that does not allow you to do it on November 5th. Otherwise, in 20-plus states throughout the country, you can same-day register. And you want to know, and again, vote.org is going to tell you that if you go to it, or you go to vote411.org. I just want to, give people resources. Let's make sure they do that. Daryl?
And Reverend Jackson, we know that you're traveling and you're on your way, I think, to Ohio at this point in time. And we wanted to certainly thank you for being with us, but we wanted to give you the chance to if there's some final thoughts you wanted to share with our radio audience, and if people want to keep up with you and Rainbow Push and what's happening with you all, how they're able to do that, sir.
Daryl, I'm 59 years old.
Uh-oh.
What I can tell you about this election is this is the most critical election in American history. There's a real choice on the ballot. We are either going to extend our progress and our movement through time of social justice, or it is going to come to an abrupt halt with the election of forces, not just an individual, but forces that are working against the progress that we have made as a people. You can reach the Rainbow Push Coalition at 773-373-3366. 773-373-3366, and they'll provide you more information.